So we'll see each other, Be'ez Hashem, next year, and I'll miss you, because this is our last year in Tovshin Pei Hey. So next week, Erev Shabbos Kodesh, Bezrat Hashem, we'll see each other, and that'll be before Shabbos Shuvah. But today is our last year before Rosh Hashanah and Aseres Yemei Teshuvah. And with every day, we come closer to Rosh Hashanah, and we understand how important it is to finally come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and do teshuvah. So we need to do teshuvah and avera sheben adam l'mokim. All our shortcomings in Torah, in Tefillah, in Shmiyas HaMitzvahs, and also an avera sheben adam l'chaveroi. An avera sheben adam l'chaveroi might be a bigger challenge than avera sheben adam l'mokim. So the Mishnah says in Yom Daf Pei Hey, avera sheben adam l'mokim Yom Kippurim mechaper. All you need to do is do teshuvah, cry out your heart for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Avera sheben adam l'chaveroi ein Yom Kippurim mechaper ad sheyaratza es chaveroi. Dorash leberoza ben Azariah. מכל אחד עושיכם לפני השם תטהרו. לפני השם תטהרו. לפני השם means all the avera sheben adam l'mokim. But avera sheben adam l'chaveroi ad sheyaratza es chaveroi. There's a similar Mishnah in Bava Kama. Is it reasonable that the same teaching, the same yesod is in two different Mishnahs? Af al pi shehu noisen loi. Person damaged another, either choivel or mazik or ganev or gazlan, af al pi shehi noisen loi, ein nimcha loi ad sheyevakesh memenu. It's not enough to compensate a person for the damages. You need to ask for Mechila. So what is the difference between these two Mishnayos? Seem to be fundamentally the same, but they cannot be the same because the two Mishnahs, two Masechtas, two Zdorim, and two different Psukim. In Yom Pei Hey, it's Lefnei Hashem Titaharu. Bava Kama Tzadik Beis, Hoshev Eishes Hu Ish. So I think each of these two Mishnahs has a Chiddush. When you actually caused damage to a person, to his possessions and monetary loss, it is more reasonable to say you need to apologize. But if it didn't really cause any real damage, no loss, I just hurt his feelings, maybe, time passed, what could I do? And I just do teshuvah for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, kamash malan? No. Every avera sheben adam l'chaveroi. And not only dina momenes, ad sheyafayes es chaveroi. And on the other hand, we might think, if I caused monetary loss, I paid for it. So everything is okay. I fixed what I broke. And maybe there is no need to apologize as well. Kamash malan, no. You were over an avera. You paid for the damages. But when you hurt that other person's property or any other way, you also hurt his feelings. And therefore, ad sheyaratz es chaveroi. Let's turn the page and have a look at source number 6, and then we'll come back. Avera sheben adam l'chaveroi ein Yom Kippurim mechaper ad sheyaratz es chaveroi. Sefer Binyan Ariel, זה לשוינוי. כוסבו כמה גדולים, וגם הריף באין יעקב, שאם לא יתקן האודם עבירה שבינו לבין חברו, אין יום הכיפורים מכפר אף על עבירה שבינו למוקוים, ולא להיר הכלל. לא שנה משנה, כאן מוכרח להדיה איפכה. Does everybody know what the Ein Yaakov is? He's calling Peresh Arif al Ein Yaakov. What's Ein Yaakov? Who knows? Who wrote the Sefer Ein Yaakov? Nobody knows what Ein Yaakov is? What? Collection of all the Agadatas. maybe we're such an amazing generation, we don't know what Ein Yaakov is. Because once upon a time, in pre-Holocaust Europe, not every shul had a shas, but every shul had a few Ein Yaakovs. People used to work hard from morning to night, and they came to shul exhausted, and between Mincha and Marav, they learned Ein Yaakov, which is Agodas Chazal. About 3 or 4 years ago, I wanted to look something up in the Perish of the Shus Yaakov and Ein Yaakov, and I sent someone to bring a Sefer who said, I went through all the 12 shuls in our Shchuna, I didn't find the Ein Yaakov anywhere. So that's when we bought an Ein Yaakov in my shul. So Ein Yaakov is a collection of Agodas Chazal. And it's a very important Sefer because it has some amazing Perushim. Who was the Gilyonei Hashas? Who knows? We're learning Gilyonei Hashas. Who wrote Gilyonei Hashas? Rebbe Kivege's Gilyon Hashas, printed in Shas Bavli. Who is the Gilyonei Hashas? Who knows? Who said that? How do you know? Was he a Rishon or an Achron? Obviously. He was a phenomenal gadol, one of the greatest. And he quotes the Rif on Ein Yaakov. Rif on Ein Yaakov, does that make sense? The Rif doesn't even relate to any Agadatis. The Rif that's printed in the Shasen, there's no Rif on Agadatis. The Rif on Ein Yaakov was called Rabbi Yeshayahu Pinto. He lived 350 years ago. So Rif is Rosh Tevis Yeshayahu Pinto. It also happens to be Rosh Tevis Yitzchok Alfasi. And he chose quite a prestigious name for his Sefer on Ein Yaakov. No more and no less. Rif on the Ein Yaakov. So he's the one that says, if you don't do teshuvah and benodem l'chaveiroi, you're not even atoned for benodem l'mokoim. And Rabbi Yosef Engel says it doesn't make sense. The Birkei Yosef, the Chido, Tov Reish Vov says, Lo nicha lemareu deneima hochi. I don't think HaKadosh Baruch Hu likes this Chiddush, says the Chido. Why make it so difficult for Yiddish Kedalach? Why? Who told you this? Meheichet Teisa. So, what do I think about this Chiddush? Person does teshuvah benodem l'mokoim. Does it work or not? Sichas Minchas Oshan Chodesh Elul. I brought what seems to be a machloikis between the giants. Rebbe Lozer Papo, in his magnificent Sefer Pele Yoetz, quotes the Rashash, Reb Shalom Sharabi, was one of the greatest Makabolim. And in the Drosh of the Rashash before Tkiyah Shofar, the Rashash says something amazing. He says, before Tkiyah Shofar, do teshuvah on something. Even if you can't do teshuvah on everything, choose something. Some aveda, some area in which you fall short, and do teshuvah shleima. And if you do teshuvah, even on one aveda, it won't help for other avedas. But you are already in the category of a bal teshuvah. And as such, b'mokem sheba l'teshuvah, oimdim ein tzadikim gmurim yicholim lamod. So even if you do teshuvah on one or two avedas, it's a sgula, because you already have a warm spot in the heart of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you're a bal teshuvah. The Maral says the same in Nesiva Solim Nesiva Teshuvah. On the other hand, Chovis Alvov Shara Teshuvah Perek Zayin, he says, if a person thinks he could be selective and he's going to do teshuvah one aveda and not on the others, he should realize that his teshuvah is worth nothing. Nothing. And his toivel v'sheretz b'yadoi. Kol HaTorah Kula is one package, and you can't choose on what you're going to do teshuvah or not. If that's a machloikis, we might be in trouble. So my psak is halacha kepele yoyetz and reshash velo kechoyves levovus, and that's for 3 reasons. First of all, Yochid Verabim, Alochi Kerabim. So it's the Peleyo, it's the Reshash, and the Maral. They're lenient. The angry one is the Choyves Salvovis. That's a Yochid Verabim, Alochi Kerabim. Number 2, Alochi Kibasroi. We always paskin like the Achrayim. Number 3, Sofik Nefoshes Lahakal. Is there any greater Sofik Nefoshes than the question, will HaKadosh Baruch Hu be Mekabel al teshuvah or not? But I really think Maro Merchoda v'Maro Merchoda v'lo pliga, there's no machloikis at all. They're talking about two different situations and two different matzavim. The Rashash, the Maral says, a person comes before HaKadosh Baruch Hu broken-hearted. It's almost Kiyas Shofar. And he says, Rabbeinu Shalom, I would so much like to do teshuvah and everything, but I'm not there yet, It's a process. Let's start. I want to do teshuvah on something, but I really hope, and I would like to do teshuvah and everything, I want to be a tzaddik. In that case, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, please come closer. What do you have to offer? Choyves Salvovis talks about a total different situation. And a person decides, Arayas, no, that appeals so much to me, I can't leave that. But I decided I'm going to do teshuvah. I didn't keep Rabbeinu Tam Motzei Shabbos, something like that, I'm going to do teshuvah. I didn't put on Rabbeinu Tam's tefillin, but, Lois Sikrevo, Legalois Erva, that's too tough for me. That one I'm going to keep for myself. No, there's no such a thing. Ger, Sheboles Gayer, the Gemara says in B'choris Daf Lamed, Kibra Latzmai, Kol HaTorah Kulo Chutz Medavar Echad, Ein Mekabel Noisoi. Would a Jew have more privilege than a Ger? Why? So when a person says, some mitzvahs appeal to me and others do not, your teshuvah is void. It means nothing. You can't choose what type of a Jew you want to be. When a person comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and says, Rabbeinu Shalom, it's an asayin, it's a huge challenge. But I would like to start. Two people came to a wonderful Baal Tzedakah, a rich person that likes to do chesed. Reuven and Shimon, each of them got a $10,000 loan for 30 days. A few days before payday, Reuven calls his benefactor and he says, I'm calling you in advance because I don't want you to think for one moment that I'm in denial. I so much appreciate the loan you gave me, but I'm so sorry I don't have the money and I will not be able to pay. And I apologize. And the Nodiv asks Reuven, so why did you call? What do you offer? He says, maybe we could have installments and I'll start paying on a monthly basis. So the Nodiv asks Reuven, okay, so how much are you bringing, in another 3 days? How much money do you have? And he says, 100 shekel. And the Nodiv says, are you making fun of me? You got a $10,000 loan and you want to start paying installments 100 shekel? And Reuven breaks down crying and he says, I wish I could do more. I don't even have these 100 shekel. I had many plans, nothing materialized. I'm in a very bad state. Please. So if that Nodiv has an open heart and he's a billionaire, he doesn't really need this money at all, then probably he'll say, I appreciate it, thank you for calling. I see you're a decent person, and I really hope things will get better and you'll be able to pay. The other guy, Shimon, payday comes and goes. Ein kol ve'ein oina. Don't hear from him. So the benefactor, the malva, the nodiv, calls him, and every time he calls, it becomes quite obvious. He recognizes his voice on the receiver's end, then he puts down the phone. So he says, I know we're daven shachris, I'm going to see him in the morning. He comes into shul. Shimon sees him from the other side of shul. He runs down the fire escape. Can't get hold of him. Both are balei choiv. but only one is a Rosh. Reuven came in advance. He apologized. This is what I've got. Please. I'll try to be better. That's the one that Ashash and the Pele Yoretz are talking about. And they say, it's almost Skiya Shoifer, he's brokenhearted. I really want to do teshuvah, but right here and now, this is what I have to offer. I'm coming with 100 shekel. I owe you $1 million, not $10,000. Kodesh Baruch Hu doesn't really need what we have to offer. He needs nothing. He just loves us. And you deserve more time. And he is Zoicha, and he's about teshuvah. But the other guy you're in denial. You can't decide what you want or what you don't want. And the same is in the kesher between Bein Odom Lok and Bein Odom Lechaveiroi. If a person decides, I'm going to be okay with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, but he steals and he robs and he's dishonest and he cheats, you can't be a Kodesh Baruch Hu's friend and hurt his children. No father would agree to a person, you're my friend and you're killing my kids. No, that doesn't go. If that is the situation, and a person is not chayzer b'teshuvah at all, and ben odom l'chaveiroi, his ben odom l'mokim is rejected as well. But it all depends on the situation. You know, some people find it easier ben odom l'mokim, others find it easier. In that case, whatever he does teshuvah, his teshuvah is accepted. So, that's the argument between the Berkei Yosef and Rabbi Yosef Engel and Rabbi Yeshayahu Pinto, and I think the Berkei Yosef and Rabbi Yosef Engel are right. And the Chovis Elvavis and the Rishash really have no argument. They're talking about two different situations. So there's a beautiful moshel in Rosh Hashanah Daf Yud Zayin as source number 3. Shalu Bludia Hagioris says Rabban Gamliel. כסב בסרסכם אשר לא יישא פונה ולא יחר שויכת, וכסיב ישו השם פונה ולך. איזה הקדוש ברוך הוא נוהג נשיאס פונה מורנת. נתפלה רבי יוסי הכהן, אומר להם שלח משה למעדה ודיימה. אודם שנוי שבחבר אמונה. So the Gemara also talks about a person that got alone. נוי שבחבר אמונה, וקבל הזמן בפני המלך, ונשבע לו בחיי המלך. He swore in the life of the king, that I will pay you on time. And he comes to the king and he says, I want to apologize. I swore in your name that I'm going to pay, and I did not pay. Please forgive me. The Melech says, I forgive you, but first pay that loan that you took. And that is a Vedish Bein Odom Lechaveiroi, in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu was not nois upon him. And that is the Mishnah ad sheyafayes es chaveiroi. There are two ways to understand this moshel. One way would be the Melech says, I don't give a hoot, I don't care. It's not about me. It's only about him. Lech v'payes es chaveiroi. The other pshat would be, the Melech says, yes, you're a sinner, because you swore in my name and you weren't Mekayim. I am ready to forgive you, but first pay that loan, and then come back to me. So, Avedes sheben odom lachaveiroi, eine meskaper ad sheyaratze es chaveiroi. What does that mean? One understanding would be that Avedes sheben odom lachaveiroi, the one that needs to forgive is the one that was hurt. And I say, Ein Aveira, Ein Ben Odom Lamokim. The entire concept of Aveira is between a man and a Kodesh Baruch Hu. There is no other concept of Aveira. Ve'ein slicha elo me'elokai slichos. Only a Kodesh Baruch Hu could forgive. So what do Chazal mean? Ad she'yavakesh mechaveiroi, ad she'yafayes es chaveiroi. Person stole money. And he comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he says, I so much regret what I did, please forgive me. HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks him, where's the money? And he says, no, I keep the money. Because Baruch tells how you're out of your mind. You keep the money. That means you do not regret. If you regret what you did, give back the money before you do teshuvah. A Ganav can't say, oh, slach lo navini k'chatono, I so much regret the Aveda, Rabbeinu Shalom, forgive me, but I'm not giving the money back. So you're a liar. That's a lie. You don't regret what you did. And that is the idea of every Aveda shebenodam l'chaveru, whether it's money or you hurt a person's feelings. If you do teshuvah, try to fix what you broke. If you hurt a person, you need to ask Mechila. It's not that the person has the authority to be moichel or not. It's not about his Mechila. It's about me asking for Mechila. Because if you regret what you did, the most basic thing you're expected to do is try to fix. You stole, give back the money. You hurt a person's feeling, try to ask for forgiveness for him. So the Shulchan Aruch says, you need to ask 3 times. And there's a machlokes between the Pri Chodesh and other source number 7. Shulchan Aruch says, if you hurt a person, you need to ask his forgiveness 3 times. So some people think it's a joke, and they go, I asked 3 times, goodbye. No. Let's have a look at the Mishnah Berurah, source number 6. Yachzor v'yelech v'yefaiseno. V'yefaiseno b'kol pam b'min ritzui acher. If he didn't forgive you the first time, maybe you didn't properly ask for forgiveness. Next time you come, speak in a different tone. Say something else. So the Mishnah Berurah means to explain, it's not a lachash neged ayin hara. Sometimes you say it 3 times. It's really sincerely trying to fix what you broke. You hurt a person's feelings. You asked for Mechila, and he said no. Think about it. Maybe you didn't ask properly. Try a different approach. Say something different. Express your regret in different words. You need to be sincere. But if you tried 3 times, and he's not moichel, what more could I do? The Pri Chodesh says you're not allowed to come a 4th time. You're not allowed to. So I did what I could do. I can't do anymore. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, I'm moichel. So it's not a person that needs to be moichel. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs to be moichel. But you need to do your best to fix what you broke. You hurt a person. You stole money. You can't keep the money and do teshuvah. If you hurt a person's feelings, you need to try to appease him and to ask for mechila and to express regret. That's my feeling. Which brings me to disagree with Hagoyen Hagodel Reb Nissim Kareretz quoting the Chazon Ish in source number 9. Omer Moran HaChazon Ish, the Yesoid v'Shoirish HaMechila Aveda shebenodam l'chaveru shetzorech לקבל מהמשפחות כנגדו ובלב, דהיינו שימחס הקפדה בליבוי. וחזון איש אומר, הוא מבטל את דברי ווימה שאם מויכל בפה ובליבוי אינו מויכלוי, הדברים שבלב. זה אינו. This is an interesting question. I heard a person's feelings. I asked for a mechila. He's embarrassed to say he's not moichel. So he says, I'm moichel, but he really isn't. So the Nissim quotes the Chazon Ish. If he isn't moichel belev, then your tshuva will not be niskabel. And this brings us to a huge pilpul about dvorim shebelev habe dvorim. And I say, I'm yakoton. It's nothing to do with dvorim shebelev. It really doesn't matter whether he's moichel or not. What's important is that I asked for mechila. And he said, it's moichel. What more could I do? I'm not a boichin koloyes velev. Why would it be any different than asking 3 times and he's not moichel? It's the same. I asked for mechila. He said he's moichel. Why would I lose out because he lies to me? So, in my pshat, my kapora is never totally in the slicha of human beings. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu could be salech on an aveira. But if you don't ask for Mechila, your teshuvah is not sincere. I asked for Mechila, he said, he's Mechila. What more could I do? And therefore you come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mechila. Which brings us to a fascinating question, which, letzarenu, is very relevant. I spoke Lashon Hara about a person. He doesn't know I said Lashon Hara about him. And I want to do teshuvah. It's an Eidish ben Adam l'chaveri. What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to tell my dear friend, I'm sorry, but I spoke Lashon Hara about me. And he'll ask you, what did you say? And he says, don't ask. It's better that you don't know because you're going to faint on the spot. Don't ask. It's better that you don't know what I said. So, is that the right thing to do? I mean, Misha ochel shum v'reichei noidef. Yachza v'yoichel shum v'yehei reichei noidef v'yosef chet al pesha. The person doesn't know I said Lashon Hara about him. And he's a friend. So I am expected to destroy our friendship, to devastate a person's feelings, and tell him that his best friend said nasty things about him. What am I supposed to do? Mishnah Berurah deals with this question. So he needs to apologize to his friend. ובשעת בקושס מחילה צורך לפרט מה שחוטא חברוי. אם לא, כשיעבוד שחברי יסבייש מזה, כשיפורט החטא, אז לא יפרט אותו. So the Mishnah Berurah says, if I hurt a person's feelings and I apologize, I need to tell him what I did. But if it's going to hurt him, if I tell him what I did, then don't tell him. Which means, I talked Lashon Hara about you. What did you say? I don't want to tell you. So, it's not as awful as the first case, but after all, you're hurting him. Sometimes you might be surprised. I get a telephone call from a yeshiva boy. Dibarti Lashon Hara al Rav. Hayim Harav soleach li. Happened more than once. I never asked him, what did you say? I also never asked him, what's your name? What I always say is, Amoichel Mechila Gemura, on one condition. If you promise, you're never again going to say Lashon Hara about me or about anyone else. If you could take upon yourself to be careful, Makan al-Haba, Hareini Moichel v'Seleach, and you have nothing to worry about. So what is a person supposed to do if he spoke Lashon Hara on another person, and that person doesn't know? Mishnah Berurah says, you need to ask for Mechila. Don't tell him what you did. Reb Salanter, the story goes that the Mishnah Berurah asked Reb Salanter for a skoma and a Sefer, and because of this, Sifkotni didn't give us skoma. They were great friends. But he disagreed. And Reb Salanter said, you have no right to hurt the person's feelings, and therefore you can't have kapara. And that is a reason to be so careful about Lashon Hara, because you could never have kapara. You don't have the right to hurt a person even more than you hurt him before. But Achiaratzes Chaveroi. V'ani I humbly say, if the halacha is I'm not allowed to tell him, then I go directly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and I say, I don't have the option of Achiaratzes Chaveroi, because I don't want to hurt him. I can't hurt him. And in that case, you go directly to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and you say, Rabbeinu Shalom, I wish I could, but he's a friend. I can't hurt his feelings. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Moichel v'Seleach, kach nere la'ani yuzdaiti. So this is a fascinating sugya, the sugya of ad sheyaratze es chaveroi. And it just comes to stress how important ben odam lachaveroi is. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, these are my children. You can't be my friend and hurt them. that is Bein Adam L'Chavero. The Ramban says in Parshas Yisro that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave Moshe Rabbeinu Shnei Luchos Sabris. Why two? What's the side of two? And why can't all the Aseres HaDibros be on one Luach? The Ramban says Luach number one is Bein Adam L'Mokim. U'nochi Hashem Elokecho. Lo yeh lecho, lo yisasa pesel. Zocher Hashem Shabbos L'Kadshoi. Luach number two is Bein Adam L'Chavero. Lo ytirtzach, lo ytinaf, lo ysignoiv. Number 5 on the first Luach is Kabedus Avicha V'Samecho. Then Ramban explains that's a combination between Bein Adam L'Mokim and Bein Adam L'Chavero. Lelamedcho, that these two systems, each is as important as the other. And that is why one Luach is Bein Adam L'Mokim and the other Luach of the Luchos Sabris was Bein Adam L'Chavero. And when the Yomim HaNeroim approach, Ad Shiaratzes Chavero. So the Gemara says, Goizel Asarabim, a person all his life had an awful habit. He cheated many people. That was his lifestyle. That was his business, cheating people, taking advantage. And he does teshuvah, and he says, how would I know how many people I cheated? I would never know. So the Gemara says, Tzorchei Rabim. You need to give money to community projects. But that is not Mekayim, the mitzvah v'heishav v'segzela shegozal. V'heishav v'segzela, you need to give full compensation to the last penny to the people you stole. But I can't. So the first most important thing is you can't keep that money. Money that you got in a non-kosher way can't stay with you. And that is why tzorchei rabim. And why tzorchei rabim? Rashi explains, hopefully, maybe some of the people that you stole their money will benefit from this community project. It could be a shul, it could be a mikveh, and maybe. You're not mekayim the mitzvah v'eshav zegzelem. But that's all I could do. And therefore you come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and you say, Asisi ma shetzivisani, I regret. I don't know whose money I stole. So Chachamim say, first of all, you can't keep that money. You need to take it out of your possession. What should I do with the money? Tzedakah, tzorchei rabim. You might give some degree of benefit to some of the people that you stole their money. But this proves my point. If I do tzorchei rabim, it's the best I could do. So a person didn't steal money, but he's a nasty person, and he was malben pnei chavero so many times, how would he know whose feelings he hurt? He davens in a shul, he hurts everybody's feelings. So how does he do teshuvah? And I say, tzorchei rabim, you need to be nice to everybody. And you need to be the nicest person to everybody you will ever meet. And maybe some of the people you will smile to are the same people that you hurt their feelings in the past. It's the same concept of tzorchei rabim. Not about money, but about midas tovos. So in these days of teshuvah, we try to learn better, learn more, daven better, with more kavanah, keep all the mitzvahs. But also, don't forget about Bein Adam L'Chavero. If you know people that you hurt them, either monetarily or their feelings, you need to ask for Mechila. And if you spoke Lashon Hara about someone and you don't feel comfortable telling him I spoke bad things about you, then just take upon yourself to be better. And Bein Adam L'Chavero is also one of the greatest zgulas for the Yomim Neroim. Because the Gemara says on Shonah Daf Yud Zayin, and in some other sources, in Shas and Yoman and Sanhedrin, Kol ha'mavir al midosav, mavirim lo al kol pshav. When a person is forgiving, and he forgives for others, and he's meichel them when they heard him. Mida keneged mida, HaKadosh Baruch Hu mavi lo al kol pshuv. And in these days, we all look for sgulas. We look for sgulas because b'midas adin, no one could make it. Hen b'malach of Yosem Tohala. Not even the malachim could really fulfill fully what they need to do. And therefore we look for sgulas. And one of the most powerful sgulas is Kol HaMavir al Medoisav Mavirem Lo El Kol Pshuv. In Tanis Dov Chofei, the Gemara tells the story. Lo Yordu Geshamim. There was a terrible famine. People were dying for hunger. Yored Rebbe Lezer HaGod Lefnei HaTeva V'Omer Yud Chof Alav Brochas V'Lo Nena. Chof Dalet Brochas. The Shmoinesa of Tanis is 24 brochas. We don't say those brochas today. And nothing happened. Yored Achra of Rebbe Kiva, after Rebbe Eliezer davened, the lengthy tefillah, and nothing happened. Yored Achra of Rebbe Kiva v'Omar, Ovinu Malkeinu aseh lemanchu em lo lemanenu, Ovinu Malkeinu aseh lemanchu v'hoishienu, umiyad yordu geshamim. Everybody was in total shock. And people started talking. Obviously, Rebbe Kiva is far greater than Rebbe Eliezer. Rebbe Eliezer was the Godel Ador. He was the Rebbe. Rebbe Kiva was his Talmud. Rebbe Kiva was a Talmud of Rebbe Yeshua, who was a Talmud of Rebbe Eliezer, and he also was directly a Talmud of Rebbe Eliezer. And all the Chachum of the Beis HaMedrash says, wow, what a shock. Rebbe Eliezer davened an hour and nothing happened. Rebbe Kiva davened a minute. Yordu geshamim. Yotzu bas kol min hashamayim. Lo mishum shezeh godol mezeh. Ela mishum shezeh ma'avir al medoisav v'zeh einoi ma'avir al medoisav. No, Rebbe Eliezer is greater than Rebbe Kiva. He's the Rebbe. Rebbe Kiva is his Talmud. But Rebbe Kiva had this special gift, Ma'avir al Medoisav. So obviously it was Gzeres Shemayim. That b'midas adin, you cannot be mevatel. Rebbe Eliezer Torah, Rebbe Eliezer's lengthy tefillah did nothing. Only lefnim meshuras adin. Only with the koyach of lefnim meshuras adin, with Ma'avir al Medoisav, and that is the power and the zgava of Ma'avir al Medoisav. Rabbeinu Hananel on the spot brings a different end to the story, and usually Rabbeinu Hananel is based on the Yerushalmi. Rebbe Kiva, after Rebbe Eliezer's lengthy tefillah, lo yordu geshamim. Rebbe Kiva just opens his mouth, one bakosha, it's raining and pouring. Rebbe Kiva gets up and he says, Em shalochem Moshe lemohado v'doima. Lemelech shohoyo lo shtei bonois, achas ohuva v'achas nua. So the king told his Gabbai, when daughter number one comes in, I really don't like her. She aggravates me. She annoys me terribly. So please, when she comes into the room, whatever she asks for, give her immediately, and I want to see her out. My other daughter comes in, the one that I love. Let her stand here and plea. I love to hear her voice. Don't give her what she asks for till I tell you to. That was Rebbe Kiva's mashal. What did he mean to say? The one that davened before me is the Basa Ahuva. Kodesh Baruch Hu loves him. And that is why HaKadosh Baruch Hu mis'avel et tfiloson shel tzadikim. The second Baal Tefillah is the one that HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't really like that much, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu told all the malachim, let this guy out, let him finish his davening. That was Rebbe Kiva's moshel. But was there a baskol or was there not a baskol? I say everyone else heard the baskol besides Rebbe Kiva, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu wanted us to hear this beautiful mushal and to know about the anova and the chokhmah of Rebbe Kiva. So all the others heard the Baskal, and they knew, no, Rebbe Kiva's story is just a story. Both of them are beloved to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Rebbe Lezer and Rebbe Kiva. There is no Bas Ahuva and Bas Nuah. The real story is Mavir al Medoisov. So everybody else heard the Baskal besides Rebbe Kiva, and that was Rebbe Kiva's pshat. How come Rebbe Lezer davened and nothing happened? And because she started davening, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, get him out. Give him whatever he asks for. So, in our preparation for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, don't forget Bein Odom L'Chaveiroi. It is as important as Bein Odom L'Mokim. Shekadosh Baruch Hu Yekabel Barachmim Mevarotzoin Seder Malchi Oseini, Seder Zachroin Oseinu, Seder Shoif Oseinu, and the Shoifer should be Melitz Yosha V'Yala Zichroin Yisrael Toivo. This past year was a tough and painful year. Tichel Shona Lekirel Oseyu, Tochel Shona V'Berch Oseyu. We shall have a wonderful year of Psoides Toivis, Yeshuas V'Nachamois. V'Yehi Rotzen, this should be a Shnas Geula V'Yeshua B'Bias Moshiach Tzedkenu B'Mheiro V'Yomeinu Amen.